What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Trade to Black presented by Dutchie. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Lots to talk about here today as Congress is inching closer towards banning intoxicating hemp nationwide. Wow. They're not kidding around. So the moment of truth is now, as it appears the hemp industry is on the clock. As well, we're also going to touch on Village Farms. Net sales is $66.7 million. Was up quite a bit earlier in the day, finished a strong day, but one of their best earnings they've ever reported as this story only gets hotter and hotter. Job well done by VFF, Michael DiGiulio and team. A lot of people like this story. We have reached out and we actually got confirmation. We might be interviewing Michael, won't be for a couple more weeks, but when we're in Vegas at MJ Biz, that's when we were hoping to get a hold of him, but he is a busy man right now. So be patient with us. Just because he's not on doesn't mean we're not trying. So we'll keep you all posted. That should happen the next couple of weeks. So let's get into it because I know EV's got lots to talk about here on a Monday with all this stuff that's come down out of Washington. Wow. And wow.
Yeah, it's a busy day. I mean, Boris was very adamant about this language getting passed. I mean, it looks like hemp in one way, shape, or form, if this language does pass and Senator Paul is not successful with his proposed amendment, that hemp will be banned within a year. Hemp products, the hemp industry, all the market participants will be toast. I mean, I don't think it's something to celebrate. I mean, I think it's obviously net, it's a positive catalyst for MSOs and for state-run cannabis businesses. And I mean, it shows that there are reforms potentially coming down the path. But I mean, I think a lot about in The Big Short when Brad Pitt's talking to the two young guys that are celebrating the amount of money that they made off of The Big Short. And he goes, guys, stop dancing. Like, people's lives are ruined. People's livelihoods are ruined. People's retirement accounts have been wiped out. Like, it's really not something to celebrate. While it is economically positive for a lot of the companies that we cover, and while there is also a net benefit to the cannabis industry as a whole and the consumer, when you look at THC flower and you look at synthetics, there's a lot of veterans that are going to lose access to cannabis in Texas. There's a lot of people that are going to lose access to cannabinoids in North Carolina. There's a lot of people that do rely on these substances therapeutically that unfortunately are going to lose access to them. So while obviously it is a step forward, if you want to call it that, in terms of just the industry and everything getting cleaned up, like, I really just don't think it's something to celebrate or anything that you can really paint in a positive light. The fact that it's an outright ban. Yeah.
I also got some feedback about 10 minutes before the show. One of our contacts, a lobbying group out of Washington, saying Trump is fully on board with this hemp ban, that McConnell's office is saying that Senator Rand Paul's amendment is dead on arrival. So it looks like this is going to go through. But one thing's clear, Congress is saying enough with this chaos. To your point, yes, it's unfortunate that many people will lose companies, lose livelihoods. But at the same time, too, on the flip side, this was at play. You know, when you have a gray market, gray zone area for quite some time and people not working within what the Farm Bill was originally structured to be, you can't sit here and be surprised that something like this would eventually happen. To this extent, it's a lot, that's for sure. But at the same time, too, you can't be surprised that something like this indeed did happen.
No, this was going to, I mean, I firmly believe that this was going to happen one way or another down the road. The loophole that was created by the 2018 Farm Bill was going to be addressed at some point in time. It was not just going to be there forever. It's gotten out of hand. It's been exploited. Mitch McConnell's parting wish is to have it closed. I firmly believe that he doesn't want to be remembered as the grandfather of legalized hemp in this country as it relates to intoxicating products. Big alcohol probably also has a lot to do with this. I've heard that the whiskey and the liquor lobby came to Mitch McConnell and were like, we need to have this closed, which to me, I mean, sure, it sounds good in practice, but at the same time, just because hemp is now going to be banned does not mean that people are going to go back to buying alcohol. That trend is closed. And Brian, I know that you've been saying this all day, that people in the industry would be aligned with Sam. banning synthetics and banning THCA flower on a national scale is a smart approach to marijuana. Do I think that it should be an outright ban and that low dose edibles and drinks are collateral damage? No, but a smart approach to marijuana is reining in THCA flower and synthetics. And that's what this is going to effectively do, even though it is going to be a vast overreach.
Well, to your original point, here's a story or a comment. Ryan Dunn. I own a company called Seventh Hill CBD. We have never touched synthetics for 7 years. We built a brand, all sensible dose cannabinoid ratio products. I support my family with the hemp industry. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Cantrip, you look at Can, you look at Cornbread. You look at a lot of good actors, people that run businesses with a lot of integrity, with a high quality product that they have the best intentions possible. That's going to be collateral damage. That's why I don't agree with the ban. I don't celebrate the ban. I mean, it happens to be going through with the CR, and it happens to be a poison pill that Mitch McConnell wanted to pass. But I don't support it. I can't fundamentally support it. You can't be for legalization and you can't support cannabis and want a totalitarian outright ban in the form that's coming down the pipe in this language. It's not possible.
You talk about a legacy that Senator Mitch McConnell will leave behind. Man, the cannabis industry, like, happy retirement. And now the hemp industry is on board with that as well, because whatever legacy he wanted to leave behind, it's not going to be the legacy that he probably was hoping for related to these two industries. But
to be honest, I don't think he's in the right cognitive state to really look back on his legacy right now. He looks like he's got one foot in the grave.
But Ryan, you make a very good point, because it's one end of the spectrum to the next. The hemp industry has been begging for regulations for years to get rid of the bad actors, and nobody would do it. All they had to do was pass a 21 and up law, put a milligram cap on it. And he makes a valid point. So it's just, I don't want to sit here and say you're surprised by them going this far.
No, this is how the government reacts. They react in extremes. The one extreme of the 2018 Farm Bill with allowing that language in the first place, that gave way to this entire thing. And then the 8-year run that it's had is going to end with an outright ban, which is the wrong policy again. The right policy, which maybe comes down the pipe, is creating a regulatory framework around the THC molecule in a one plant system, whether it's hemp derived, whether it's cannabis derived, license them all, allow the people to operate in a regulated industry that has standards, and then just let the free market decide. It doesn't matter if it's hemp or cannabis at all.
Well said. Michael Bronstein is going to come on. We're going to talk more in depth with him. But before we do that here on the TDR Trade to Black podcast presented by Dutchie, let's go over some of these earnings with Village Farms. Net sales, $66.7 million, up 21% year over year. Net income from continuing operations, $10.8 million, or 9 cents per share. Adjusted EBITDA of $20.2 million, 30.3% of net sales. That's a company record. An operating cash flow of $24.4 million for the quarter. Year to date, operating cash flow now $46.7 million. And Anthony, cash on hand, $88 million. This is one of the best prints they've ever reported. And this story just only gets better and better, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, this is a blowout quarter for Village Farms. They're performing on every metric. They beat every single expectation. The numbers were crazy. I mean, 10.8 net income versus 2.9 estimate, 47.9% gross margin versus a 34.9% estimate. I'm sure there's some more stuff in the filings to go through, which I haven't done yet or listened to the earnings call. I've been quite busy all day. But at face value, I mean, they got the anchor that was tied around their neck with the produce business off. You're seeing revenue expansion and margin expansion. And I mean, the business is a very healthy business. Right now, their domestic business is growing, their international business is growing, and they're expanding their cultivation capacity. So I would expect these numbers to continue to trend to the upside as long as demand stays steady in the next couple of quarters. I mean, they're arguably the biggest growth story in the industry. Granted, their numbers do hail in comparison to someone like a Trulieve or someone like a GTI in terms of just, or Curaleaf in terms of just large top line numbers. I mean, they're 25% of what Trulieve's reporting on a quarterly basis, but at the same time, they've got growth They've got growth and they've got a steady business right now, both in their international and domestic business. That is very, very healthy.
They're not one of they are the growth story of 2025. International medical cannabis exports up 758% year over year. Canadian cannabis sales up 29% year over year. CG66397 says, stop reading headlines, read the filings. What did you outline? What did you see? Anything we're missing? Let us know. Leave your comments below. Happy to go over those things. All right. Lots to get into here today. And with that, let's just jump right into it. Welcome in the president of the American Trade Association for Cannabis and Hemp, Michael Bronstein. And this is just an any other Monday. This is a smack you in the face type Monday. Wow. What'd you think of some of this stuff that happened and really how you're processing it all?
Yeah, this is absolutely pivotal day, I think, in the cannabis industry as a whole. And I think that we also knew that this day was coming.
Yeah.
I think that we had said all along that there might likely be a vote on definition of hemp. And I think that what you're seeing is that Congress is saying that, folks shouldn't be selling hemp as marijuana. And I think that what we've seen here is, is language that's been proposed that creates three regulatory lanes, clear regulatory lanes, as well as a pathway forward that I think folks are reacting to from a congressional level. And because what the discussion that we're having is tied to the opening of the government, it's interesting to see that our topic is actually front and center, truly, in the national debate. So right now, literally there was a tweet by The Hill that said that Rand Paul, was going to get in the way of reopening the government based off of his vote. We anticipate that there'll be votes in another hour or so, potentially on his amendment to strike the language that is currently in the bill on hemp. What we've seen in Congress is there is wide support in the Senate currently on this. And I think, we saw just even recently, Susan Collins came out and said that there was support for the language that's currently in the bill, wide support, citing Attorney General support and others to be included in the passage of the bill.
There's a lobbying group that just reached out to us as well, said President Trump is fully in support of this as well, and said that whatever Rand Paul is trying to basically do, it's dead on arrival. So, wow, this is like a whole new world. We've been talking about this, but you said a couple of weeks ago, what would you say to President Trump right now? It was just all about getting rid of the bad actors. And it seems like maybe he was watching our podcast, but clearly this was a dose of reality. Go ahead, Anthony.
I was going to say, Michael, you mentioned the potential path forward. What is your interpretation of the path forward if this language is implemented in the form that it is right now in the CR for the hemp industry?
The bill clearly distinguishes between intoxicating and non-intoxicating products, synthetic and natural products, which we've discussed, and industrial and consumer products. So by breaking up those definitions, you actually have the ability to hang language. You have the ability to hang language on those, and those distinctions create clear regulatory lanes for hemp-derived products. But they also address the perceived loophole that we've seen in the Farm Bill. And the other thing is that it really is, people are arguing, and we're seeing some of the conversation. I don't think that Congress is really buying that, they're finding out what's going on in the market, and they're like, wait a second, this is what's actually going on in the market. So I think that here we're Congress is understanding what the synthetic THC marketplace is, which is not one that they felt that they had included in the original 2018 Farm Bill. And in speaking to members of Congress, what they are saying to me right now is that the 2018 Farm Bill didn't really permit this, and the unregulated synthetic intoxicants are are huge issues. So this gets us to the point where there will be federal regulation around these products, because I think what's much more likely to happen is that we'll see a regulatory bill coming down the line now that we have the first step is clear definitions at the federal level.
Do you think that the regulatory bill could be an amalgamation of both cannabis and hemp, or it could be mostly just to regulate intoxicating hemp products on a go-forward basis?
Well, I think that it could be all of the above. I mean, I think that there could be, I think what we're moving towards and what we're seeing today is we're moving towards regulation to final product. So,
Okay.
And one of the things is that the intermediary product is also discussed in this bill as well. I think that Congress, understands enough what's going on in the marketplace now to think about how they're thinking about the marketplace. Because there was a lot in the industry. If you're making synthetic products and going over the threshold, you're going over the threshold and then saying, well, wait a second, it's a hemp product now that it's below the threshold, even though it's above the threshold when we make it. They're saying, well, that people are claiming, well, that's legal because in the final product, it's lower than the 0.3% THC by dry weight, which, I mean, that's a tough argument to make. If your product generally, as a matter of law, if you have a product that's illegal at some point in the process, it doesn't become legal later in the process because of something that you did to it. It didn't come to the marketplace with clean hands.
Okay. So do you think are you thinking of this ban, or are you interpreting this ban more so as like the inflection point to where the greater conversation amongst regulating cannabinoids starts to take shape and starts to gain momentum in, let's say, the coming quarters to years down the road?
Yeah. Yes, I think it's an inflection point. I mean, this market is, and even if, say, they didn't pass this bill, right? Mm-hmm. It's such an inflection point around the discussion in Congress. And remember, it still has to go to the House, right? Yeah. There's an inflection point in Congress where now everybody really is on the issue and they really are talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that there have been positive conversations that have happened on the Hill in order for people to sort of get their hands around understanding what a federal regulatory framework would look like. And if we're going to sell marijuana, we need to sell it as marijuana. If we're going to have, I don't think that the Farm Bill, I think it's been dangerous to the industry, both cannabis and hemp. And it's dangerous from a regulatory perspective too. One of the things that we've seen from really a lot of different corners is that we now have alcohol commenting on this in a pretty serious way. And I thought probably if we went back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what I would have told you is that when we arrived at the moment of legalization, the alcohol industry would be pushing for legalization. What's going on right now is they're looking at what's going on in the synthetic THC market. And they're saying this is a mess. All right.
It is a mess.
This has to be cleaned up. All right. You clean it up and it'll be a mainstream industry.
So you think they had a lot of conversation with behind the scenes that the reason? Yeah, of course they did.
The liquor lobby was who got McConnell's ear and said, hey, we need to make this our parting gift with you going into retirement. I firmly believe that. Like, I've heard the whiskey lobby, the liquor lobby, the powers that be, they want the cannabis industry, or they want the hemp industry right now halted dead in its tracks so they can clean it up. And if you think that the alcohol businesses are not going to come back in or figure out how to get beverages reactivated and start to scale that business, you've got another thing coming. Like, we're on a collision course with that. Beverages aren't going anywhere.
Especially
they've seen the numbers, they've seen the demand, they've seen what's going on. And just like I said at the beginning of the show, just because they ban hemp, people aren't going to start drinking more beer again or start drinking more whiskey. That trend is dying. The THC beverages are going to come back.
And Michael, beverage is proof positive, right? But it's how it has to be regulated. I think that the beverage market, obviously got a lot of people thinking about what federal regulation looks like. The issue from an advocacy perspective is that, you had the folks who, some of the folks who were on the beverage side had to team up with the synthetic intoxicant folks. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that they're not the same industry. Okay.
No, not at all.
And so, today what we're seeing is there's a lot of discussion around that. The THC beverage industry is something that has a bright future as a product. And I remember going back 10 to 12 years ago, while the industry was getting off the ground, there was a lot of discussion about whether or not the THC beverage industry could take off because the form factor was so new. People didn't, drink cannabis. That wasn't a thing. Okay. And that is not the case. It is proven now that people drink cannabis. It is proven to be an incredible form factor.
Dank Informer. Oh, come on, guys. The Pennsylvania grand jury found 93% of smoke shops hemp is illegal marijuana. The cat is out of the bag. It's cartel weed. It's organized crime. It's Joe's home grow.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
And some of it is coming in from out of the country too, where they're synthesizing that material. I mean, China changed their law basically to allow the export, allow export of the isolate. So I think that there's, the reality is that when you test these products, a lot of the products that you're finding in gas stations and everywhere else, it's a real problem. Okay. Correct. It is a real problem. And if we don't take this moment to talk about regulation, to talk about how to deal with these products, then it's going to hurt the entire industry.
We're smiling because Anthony is getting me into trouble because tomorrow's
the 11/11 Chad Dale's guarantee for rescheduling.
It's not happening tomorrow, people. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. But it's not happening.
No, but I mean,
Anthony's got me
at least once we get over the hump, the 11/11 thing goes away because it's impossible.
Well, I get torched.
But the Chad Dale's guarantee for 11/11 rescheduling is in effect for the next 24 hours. So we'll be on that watch. But I mean, Michael, you are completely correct because I'm actually surprised that the THCA flower and the synthetics have not been a bigger problem for the state-run industry and the good actors in the hemp industry because they are dangerous products. I mean, when you talk about what's going on or any of these studies that go on with people that are going to emergency rooms, potential psychosis, psychotic episodes, like I've seen products that are flower that's sprayed with 7-OH and vapes that have THC-P, HHC, 7-OH in them that guarantee an all-day high. Like these are not the products that are intended for consumption. These are not products that should exist.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell anybody how to live their life or what to do, but the cannabis industry, I firmly believe, should be naturally derived Delta-9 THC products that are in different dosages and different form factors that people are using therapeutically and for wellness purposes. If you want to use them to go visit outer space, drink 100 milligram beverage that's D9, naturally derived THC, and go do that. But these space bricks that you're seeing, like Cheech and Chong sell, that are 7-OH, Amanita, HHC hash bricks, like we've gone way too far.
Yeah,
it's time to get reined in.
People are lobbying to keep that going.
Correct.
Right? That's where the money is coming from in a lot of these lobbying efforts.
Unfortunately, you're correct.
Where you have people saying that, and it's really bad because the marijuana industry. So we as an industry, we have a problem in that if we don't step up at this moment and say what's responsible, what'll happen is the industry will be taken over by these synthetic products. Okay. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, everyone will come after the industry, the quote unquote marijuana industry, which is really just this synthetic derivative industry. When really what we should all be talking about is natural THC.
Yes.
Okay. We should be legalizing natural THC, and we should be doing it from, New Jersey to California to Alaska and everywhere in between. And that's just the way that it should be.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being at the dinner table with some of these alcohol executives, these whiskey brands of 100+ years at Mitch McConnell's house, talking about what's going on right now? But yeah, they probably had a major influence because, when you look at consumer trends right now, some of these brands that are 100+ years old could be looking at being extinct if something doesn't change. So yes, they probably had a ton of influence on convincing and educating Senator McConnell at what's at stake, right?
But remember what they had to come over. They came out of prohibition, alcohol prohibition.
Yeah.
Okay. And what they're looking at these products and what they're saying is no. Like,
right.
Don't sell bathtub gin. We're all against bathtub gin.
Yeah.
We're okay with regulated. It's interesting because the alcohol's commentary on this particular category allows them to look responsible even to their own regulators, right? Where it got to the point where they felt the 5 major trade associations that were supply side trade associations that are saying, okay, this needs to be cleaned up. What happened is it got to the point where you had people like that saying, if we don't say something,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
We can't get away with not saying something.
Okay.
Let's be real. Like, Ben Kovler is one of the heirs to the Jim Beam family.
Yeah.
You don't think that he's gone so deep into beverage and he's so bullish on beverage because he sees where the puck is going? I mean, he is literally a part of a generational liquor family in the United States that came out of prohibition and became one of the largest whiskey brands in the world.
Well said.
His main focus, not his main focus, but what he seems to be the most excited about is cannabis beverages. And I don't think that is just a hunch for something that he wants to do for a hobby. I think he sees where the puck is going. He's talked to major players, whether it's a Beam Suntory or Sam Adams, and he understands who's going to come in, what they're going to want, and what's really going to be the driving force of this in the future. And I fully believe that.
This, at the heart of this whole situation, is another comment. Ryan, you're making some great comments today. What's messed up is that the gas stations and the smoke shops, they're just money grabbing. They're selling the bottom of the barrel product just to boost their profits. And that is where a lot of this centers around on a lot of these decisions, among other things. But yeah, some fair points. I see a lot of people commenting, and let's talk about like timelines now. So today's Monday, and this funding bill is supposed to go through when? Is it tomorrow? Is it Wednesday? If
they're voting on it. They're voting on it.
Yeah, they're voting on it. I mean, the key vote, I think the key vote could happen right after this on this particular issue. The key vote could happen sometime this evening.
Okay, so this evening. So if it indeed goes through, what can we expect tomorrow, Wednesday? What should people be, I guess, the fact that intoxicating hemp products become banned nationally? So like what then? They have a 1-year timeline.
Well, it's not. No, I mean, the way to look at this is the enabling legislation. There's 365 days from the enactment of the act.
Correct.
Okay. In order for everything to come into compliance, the bill has to go from the Senate. There are a lot of stops. The bill has to go through these procedural motions in the Senate, which is going to take a couple of days to clear out of the Senate because of the Senate's arcane procedure. Yeah. Then what will happen is it'll go over to the House, and the House will decide. Now, remember, the House already has language in their agricultural appropriations funding bill. And for those of you who have been following along this podcast for a while, I have gone at great lengths to point out that language on the hemp issue has appeared in almost every bill that has been introduced, first on the House side, then on the Senate side, and now back, right? First on the farm bill, then you're talking about ag appropriations, right? So this is not really this is something that that's in a lot of different pieces of legislation at this point. So what'll happen is you'll have those two. It'll go over to the House. What happens in the House, we don't know. Could it be amended? Could be amended, but it'll probably be along very similar lines to what the Senate passes, because basically you'll have language in both of those bills, so they would reconcile. They probably would try to reconcile some of those things.
Okay, so once this bill then goes through, and you've got a 1-year timeline and all this. How do you see this all shaping out? Like the hemp industry, a lot of consolidation. You'll see a lot of companies, I guess, gone. Will you not? Like, what is this? Sorry, go ahead.
There's no consolidation. They're going to sell. I mean, I would assume that if you were a hemp operator, you're probably going to start managing your cash flow cycle, focus on your accounts receivable, and start to blow out product and just get product off the shelves, because I mean, it's going to be obsolete come a year from now. I mean, if I was a hemp company like a Cornbread, or like one of the ones that are probably well capitalized and have a huge customer base, I'd be looking at what states I want to start buying licenses in. Yeah. And I'd flip into the regular market. I mean, this is an existential crisis for most, but I mean, there's some that will come out of this stronger and probably battle tested to come into the state-run industries.
Okay. Now, next I want to ask is, what does this present now that we have some clarity? What do you think this has any implications on the reschedule of cannabis or cannabis reform, moving forward without any timelines? Like, does this help build the case even more, Michael?
It certainly gets one discussion that's been happening out of the way, because I think that if it does all come to pass like this, right, we could see some major cannabis policy moves. And remember, we're in the Senate right now. They're trying to reopen the government. I don't want to jump to too many conclusions, because there's a lot of innings in the game as this moves forward. Okay, and we've seen that before. And there's even a vote, later tonight. There's even a vote later tonight on this issue, which we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen, right? We think that, the vote is going to go through. We think that'll happen, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe something else. Maybe something else happens. But the likelihood right now is that something will happen. I think that on the rescheduling discussion, I do think that it brings forward this conversation about cannabis. Okay. And I think that it brings it forward in a meaningful way, and there'll continue to be even greater pressure to reschedule. And you saw the White House today. It wasn't exactly quoted, but what the media has been saying is that the White House is for the hemp language that's in the Senate bill. Yeah. Okay. And I would have to think that that there is a thought out policy discussion that has happened on that end about what comes next.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Michael's correct, and I don't want to get too forward looking or speculative, but Trump posted that video from the Commonwealth Project. The Commonwealth Project is run by Howard Kessler, who, from all accords of people that I've talked to, is very good friends with Donald Trump. He's a big donor to DC. And if you really want to read the mandates of the Commonwealth Project, it's essentially CBD being covered by Medicare. And they were a proponent to the rule for rescheduling. I can't think that Donald Trump posting that video, him having relationships with the gentleman that is wanting certain things to happen, and Trump sitting there supporting the hemp ban, it just doesn't make sense if you're thinking about it, unless Mr. Kessler's pissed him off, which I have no knowledge of, nor I don't think anyone would. It's big assumptions, but at the same time, I mean, you kind of got to draw lines to data points and look around. I mean, I think Michael's correct, where this does lead to a conversation on a greater conversation in terms of reform. Or something coming down the pipe that's going to regulate cannabinoids as a whole. It's not going to be ban and then just a limbo for the overall industry.
I can't help but feel it's a step in the right direction for cannabis reform, because we have some clarity now. It's like, how do you reschedule cannabis when there's all this other stuff that's playing off to the side? But do I think it's an extreme decision that's being made? 100% it is, whether you look at it one way or the other, but something had to happen. But now that we're getting rid of these bad actors, you start to have a better understanding of what regulation could look like, right?
Does anyone talk to Gretchen today?
No.
That would have been a good perspective to get. I think Mr. Perry's got a good question there.
I think one of the things also too is that like Congress was being pretty clear that about what they could or what they couldn't do around language.
Yeah.
Right. If you wanted if you needed a regulatory bill, it had to be it actually had to be a separate bill, and I think that that's what we're going to see.
Yeah. You ask and you shall receive.
Yeah. Somebody wrote earlier, any updates on PA? Somebody actually was.
I saw Gretchen in PA. We were going to share a picture. I did run into Gretchen in Pennsylvania, which was great. So Pennsylvania right now, there is rumor that they will come in and vote on a budget.
Okay.
Potentially this week. What we're anticipating is that they will move SB 49, which is the cannabis regulatory bill, in short order. When they get, I think once they clear out kind of this, if they can get to a budget agreement, once they clear it out, I think they're going to turn very quickly to SB 49. It sounds like. So I think that we will be seeing remember it passed out of the Senate Law and Justice Committee.
Yep.
So I think that we're going to see it potentially leave the Senate and go over to the House, where I think there's going to be a real discussion about what goes on. So things are moving. Things are moving forward.
Okay. So it does look like the budget could get passed without cannabis being included in it. But if there is a agreement on the budget, potentially the cannabis bill is going to have get looked at further.
Yeah, I think like the pressure that built around cannabis and the discussion in the budget is the thing that is making the Senate move on SB 49, which is really a response to what Democrats sent over as the state store bill. So they're looking at, all right, we set up a regulatory commission, we get, cannabis control board.
Yep.
And then basically what would happen is you would have, an enabling vote potentially on something like that to get at legalization. So it very much is a step. It very much is a step forward. But I also think from a passing the bill perspective, it's being done in a way that Republicans can get behind. So the question is, can Democrats get behind that plan? And what'll happen is I think there'll be a discussion between leadership about what the bill looks like before it goes over. And so you'll have the House, you'll have the Senate, and you'll have the governor sit down and make a decision about what it is that they want to do going forward on that. That's going to only be positive, quite frankly. So I think that this kind of forced the hand to what the next step is going to be. The budget conversation just got too muddy in my view.
Okay. So the expectation is for the budget to pass in PA without cannabis included.
I think think right now, it hasn't been. I mean, the budget could fall apart at any moment. Yeah. Right. It's November. And this was supposed to be done in June. Yeah. So the expectation that I have right now is that they are moving SB 49 because during the budget, they understand that they have to do something in terms of getting to cannabis regulation.
Okay.
And that's the thing that I think that the Republicans are able to do right now. And it passed out of committee 10-1. The other thing that it does too, guys, is it takes the state store model off the table because it sets up an independent commission. And if you were to have a state store model, it would actually have to be under the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board. So that there are important kind of political distinctions and steps that are going on right now that matter to get to legalization in Pennsylvania.
I think
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, or go ahead, Jeff.
I'm just reading between the lines, just especially after you guys going to Harrisburg a couple of weeks ago. It just appears to me that they want to pass adult use, but I think they want direction from Washington. Is that fair? Is that like They're not going to come out and say that, but if you read between the lines, it sure sounds like that.
I think that Republicans, and this was clear from the Tyson visit, direction from Washington is really going to help
100%.
inside the Republican caucus on this. That is what they've said. And I have to take the Republican caucus at its word when it says that, right? And they said that, I think, on a number of occasions, when we were there with Mr. Tyson last week. I think it was really clear. I thought it was clear. But I don't discount them moving before what the federal government does. I just think they feel it would make it easier.
Yeah. With Spanberger taking the gubernatorial seat in Virginia, are your efforts shifting? Not efforts shifting, but are you starting to focus on that market, or is there anything that attaches running from a grassroots perspective?
Absolutely. We're concentrated. Absolutely. We're concentrated on it. We think that legalization absolutely happens in Virginia. And it's the next domino really the next domino to fall. I mean, it's a big deal.
Very much so. It would be nice to finally get that over the hump and stop talking about it, because Glenn Youngkin was nothing but a roadblock sitting in the governor's office, as we all know.
How many miles away is Richmond from Harrisburg? Any idea?
It's probably like, I would say it's probably like 250, 300.
300 miles makes that much of a difference, right?
Well, the weather's probably warmer too.
True. By the way, I got snow this weekend where I'm at. Yeah, another reason I want to leave here. But anyway, always good catching up with you. Wow, big news. But we'll circle back with you. We'll see what happens here with this vote in the next little bit here. But if this does get confirmed, maybe we circle back with you and have you back on again later this week. But
that would be great. No, I'd love to do it. And everybody watch. It should be very interesting to see what happens over this next week, over these next couple weeks.
Yeah, for sure. All right, sir. And actually, there was another person I saw this morning, if I read it correctly. It was, where was it? Oh, I think it was involving Chris, your director of state advocacy and public policy, Chris Lindsay, said, "We applaud lawmakers for taking this critical step to clarify Congress's intent in the 2018 Farm Bill. Willful misinterpretation of the Farm Bill led to the proliferation of unregulated synthetic THC products widely available for sale to minors." And that's about as accurate as it gets, right?
I think that I'll tell you the truth. I think once this gets cleaned up, all the lanes that we see here that we want to go forward are going to have a real opportunity, because what we have to do is we have to mainstream this industry. Yeah. That's what we have to do. That's what this is all about.
Which hemp was doing. Hemp was doing that, but it just got too much.
I think that when you're selling synthetic products in gas stations, you weren't regulating like alcohol at that point. The thing that everybody campaigned on. Correct. Right. It just became a different thing. And remember, I said this before, but cannabis legalization is a responsibility. We want it to be a right. We try to make them into right by changing these laws, but it's also a responsibility. And so insofar as we have the public support to do this and what it is that we want, we will succeed. Yeah. And when we don't, we won't succeed. And one of the things that we've seen is support eroding because of what are misperceived cannabis products that are in the marketplace that are not natural, right? That are derived synthetically, or even sometimes are from the illicit market. And those activities, do you think that the alcohol industry, if somebody was selling alcohol illegally and not through a regular chain, wouldn't act? Do you think that any other industry wouldn't? This is the time for the industry to grow up.
Correct. I couldn't start a vodka company tomorrow and start selling it and start distributing it freely to stores around the area. It's not possible.
I got thinking, before I let you go, we talk about the mainstream effects that hemp provided got a little too far, but what can the cannabis industry learn from all this in the event that there is rescheduling? And I know that has nothing to do with it, but you're going to see more states potentially come live on market for adult use. but for branding opportunities, like people don't want to buy product from a dispensary. This is what made hemp such an attractive product to go mainstream. So do you see those same opportunities with cannabis, considering what you still don't, huh?
No, never. It can't, rescheduling or descheduling. Cannabis is going to be sold in flower, concentrates, all those form factors. They're going to be sold in a dispensary. You're not going to have True Leaf selling eighths at Circle K in Florida, even in an adult use market. That's just not going to happen.
I think it'll be a conversation. I think it'll be a conversation over a period of some time. I do think that the retail outlets and distribution, I do think that there's going to be a question about that going into the future. I mean, one of the things that some of the demand for these products and being able to meet customers where they are is going to require innovation in the industry, but it's also going to require safety, and it's going to require having support around those methods to do it. The problem with the market as we see it right now is there wasn't the underlying support. Just because we could do it didn't mean that we should do it.
Yeah,
and that's a tough message. Okay, that's a really tough message.
And Chad, to your point, I think it's actually a pretty good point now that I think about it, because you could see cannabis products sold in liquor stores. I don't think you're going to see them in convenience stores.
Can you walk me through like beverages? Like that's what I'm trying to get to as far as like availability, and like if you want to attract a female demographic, they don't want to go into a cannabis dispensary. It's like the Total Wines and places like that for hemp product and stuff like that. That's what started to make this go more and more mainstream. That's where I want to know, like,
if hemp beverages do come back, which I do firmly believe that hemp beverages will come back. They're a product that I think will have a place in society. They are not going to get relegated to the dispensary.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see 50 and 100 milligrammers being sold in gas stations or convenience stores. But I do think that you will see hemp beverages continue at the end of this to be sold in Total Wine, in liquor stores, potentially at sporting events and large events. But you're not going to see them like just in the end cap refrigerator at Publix.
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately, if you're going to make a decision as big as an historic as rescheduling, if indeed does happen, this, hate to say it, but you got to get rid of these bad actors, and there's going to be people that are actually doing things the legal way. I feel for them right now because they have a livelihood. And, I've seen a lot of posts on LinkedIn, and there's a lot of farmers that have said everything was just fine until the synthetic rodeo show showed up. And it's very disappointing. It's not even just
the synthetics. I mean, look at what Dank puts out there on the inversion of THCA flower and what's actually being sold.
Yeah.
It's covered in neurotoxins and carcinogens that if you smoke that, it is literally carcinogenic.
Yeah.
That is product that is freely being sold to whoever wants to buy it with no guardrails. Granted, I'm not going to sit here with my head in the sand. There probably is legal product that doesn't pass testing that somehow gets inverted and finds its way into those channels. But a majority of it is illicit grown product that is covered in shit that is not good for you. Mm-hmm. That is a public safety issue.
Yep. 100%.
That is where we got way too over our skis and way too far. And that's when I started to develop the opinion of we need to regulate hemp without banning it. But that is one of the main problems. There was a sample that had been tested that was sprayed 100-to-1 with a turf fungicide that they spray on golf courses, that people were buying and smoking the cannabis. Like, that is a big, big problem. And if other participants in the hemp industry don't want to sit there and have a very honest and open conversation that the people that reside in their industry are perpetuating that, they're just as big of a part of the problem as the people that are selling it are. Yeah. And I mean, that's the fact. Well, like, that stuff has no business to be sold to consumers.
Yeah. Gretchen's been saying this for a long time. The point is that no one is showing up in Washington, the cannabis industry, to the 11th hour and putting all their hopes on one guy. And, there is a point to that, because we go back to where did Mitch McConnell get a lot of this feedback about where we are today? And you can bet, as we said before, it was a lot of the alcohol lobbyists from Kentucky that probably had a big take and big sway on why he presented this bill to begin with. And hopefully we can learn from this in this industry, but we need to keep our foot on the gas and continue to move forward to get change in Washington. But as Senator
I'll say
Rand,
this too. I mean, in terms of leadership, the leadership in this industry, some of them, especially on the, some of the hemp stuff that we've seen over the last couple of years, some of the legal that we've seen on it, did not live up to it did not elevate itself to the game that we needed to as an industry.
100%.
We needed to hold ourselves to a higher standard. No one was going to give this to us.
Good point.
Okay. And the problem was people walked around like, that this is an absolute given right.
Well, it begs the question: if you want something, you got to go after it, and that's why people have always thought.
That's what I said. Yeah, you got to go after it.
Just the biggest companies and the executives, what do they want? Because common sense to me shows that if you want something, you got to go after it. And there wasn't an effort, but I think that has definitely picked up in the last 6 months. Boris kind of hinted that, but since then, President Trump and his administration has said, "We hear you, back off. We're going to go on our timeline. We'll let you know if something changes." And if it does, great. If it doesn't, then days down the road, there could be some more approaches by executives or the biggest executives from the MSOs again. But for now, it's just kind of like wait and see mode. But this is big news and will have huge implications for both industries, regardless of which side of the aisle you sit on. But let's keep in touch. And if we get some confirmation later this week, let's have you back on. Okay.
Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Everyone. All right. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Hot topic. I got thinking, like, we had Thomas Winstanley on a couple of weeks ago from edibles.com. And, you think about that model that they're supposed to launch. I think it was like this month, if I'm correct. That's going to change things.
Going nationwide to their franchisees.
Nationwide.
Changes.
I think
I'm going to bet that a company like, I don't want to speak for him, but I'm going to bet on a company that's that big, with edible arrangements. The fact that it's more so like a business unit within a business, they're probably going to take a big step back and or pause that completely. I'm curious to see what Wana, Kiva, Wild, Happily from Organigram. I'm curious to see what all these companies start to do in the interim, because they can't be functioning business as usual into the foreseeable future.
Big changes for a company like MC Nutraceuticals if this goes through as well. But yeah, we'll save that. Anthony is right. Reedibles.com. Good point. All right, sir. I think that's it for now. And love the comments that were going on in the first 15 to 20 minutes. I saw you smirking, but everyone.
There's a lot of good.
It is a
lot
joke.
Of good comments today.
I said, hey, it would be a great look if something was announced on Veterans Day, but
it's the 11/11 Shaddale's guarantee.
No, it's not a guarantee.
I mean, everybody knows by this. Everyone knows by this point that are being facetious. If they don't, then they just don't know what's going on.
Who was it? Somebody said if it doesn't go through, I'm contacting Morgan & Morgan. I had to laugh when Michael's in a decision there. Mr. Dales goes to Washington. I will be in Washington. Anthony is going to be joining me. We're flying out this Sunday for a summit next Monday. So it should be good. Learn lots, and we'll provide any feedback from what we learn. We're going to go live actually in Washington next Monday night. So 4:00. So that should be a good day. But 55 people, speakers at this, and it's the biggest names across the industry. So that'll be good. I've got an interview tomorrow with John Levine and Ryan Crandall from MaryMed. We're going to post that on Wednesday morning. And like I said, if we get this news confirmed, we'll have probably Michael back on later this week again. But some good interviews. Big Mike's going to be coming on later this week. Micah Anderson from a more in-depth approach regarding Leaf brands. And Peter Sack we've got coming up. They got their latest earnings as well. And we should be it. But quick reminder, today's podcast is presented by Dutchie. It's the #1 tech platform for the largest MSOs in the space. So if you're a retailer or own a dispensary and you want to learn how to get one stop payment plan and an e-commerce platform that really is smooth transition. You want to visit business.dutchie.com and learn more. But as Boris said last week, tech is going to be a big focal point for them moving forward. And the platform they use is Dutchie. So check it out if you actually work in the industry. That's it for now. Man, all these texts coming in. People not knowing that we're going to be in Washington, but there's a lot of people going to be there. So it should be fun. That's it for now. AV, anything else you want to add?
I'm good. I'm going to be watching the votes and see how things transpire here in the next coming days. And if Donald Trump decides to reschedule cannabis tomorrow.
Yeah. Pat Schwartz. Did I miss Brady? He had to cancel last minute. Apologies for that, but we'll have him on hopefully later this week amongst a few other people once indeed this goes through. And if it does, we'll get some more people, more reaction from the industry as a whole. But that's it for now, everybody. And we'll see you back here Monday, or should say Wednesday at 4 o'clock. TDR Traded Black podcast presented by Dutchie for AV. I'm Shad Dales. See you Wednesday.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey everyone, thanks again for watching here today. Listen, if you're getting value from us here at TDR, make sure to check us out at TDR Plus. It's our exclusive membership community. Why? Well, you'll see CEO interviews that go beyond business, showing a personal side that you won't find anywhere else, including the biggest names in the industry. Plus, you'll get insights from analysts and day traders on where the industry's headed, both short-term and long-term, and a direct chat group with our team. It's only $7 a month, just 25 cents a day, and it helps support everything we do here at TDR. If you want to join, just click the join button below and become a TDR Plus member today. And once again, a big thank you for being part of our community. So that's it for today. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.